Welcome to the Qualified Tutor podcast. Here at QT, our mission is to provide teacher training for tutors. If you are a motivated tutor and you love to learn, the QT podcast will inspire, motivate, and support you to improve your practice. Because tutoring is a small job that makes a big difference. Hello and welcome to our 13th episode of the Qualified Tutor podcast. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Vikki, Head of EdTech and Digital Skills at the Education and Training Foundation. And we're delighted to be able to get the chance to talk to a foundation who does so much for qualified teachers and professional educators looking to train and learn about the industry. They are really the authority in professional membership of the qualified teacher learning and skills status and the advanced teacher status. They've been going since 2013. And we really are delighted to be joined by them, by Vikki today. So hello, Vikki. How's everything going?
Hi, Lido. Well, very well, thank you. It feels very odd to be in a lockdown situation, but because we rely so much on technology is one of my expertise, and therefore I can keep in touch with friends as well as colleagues and other professionals.
Yes, exactly. So how have you found the period since lockdown? Have you been able to carry out your work just as you normally would have done?
Oh, God, yeah. It's been extremely busy. In fact, since the lockdown on the 16th of March, we've been inundated by support requests from the sector, and we've delivered a responsive sort of campaign in order to support the sector. So we've got GETF supports FE, and very soon after the lockdown, I think on the 18th of March, we delivered our first webinar, which was the first of a series of 10 webinars on accessibility and inclusion. Because obviously when you deliver online and when you work remotely as a teacher, it's really important to make sure that no learners are left behind. And therefore, accessibility is at its prime.
Yeah, I think that's something that's really been heightened, hasn't it, in this period, is actually those gaps between those who are able to access learning and those who aren't able to access learning online has really been widened, hasn't it? And we've heard lots about that in general, but also we've been chatting to those people in the know on this podcast. So there's been a lot around that in our line of work, and it sounds just with you as well. So obviously being national head of EdTech and digital skills, Vikki, you've been preparing your whole career for this this kind of period. Did you see this as an opportunity for EdTech?
I didn't really think about it that way, to be honest. It was more being responsive to the needs of the sector. So suddenly there was a strong awareness and catalyst on EdTech and learning technologies. And therefore we sort of helped people finding their way around. So one of the support that we delivered was also a guide to remote working for teachers and trainers, which is effectively a sort of guide across our two programs on the Enhanced Digital Teaching Platform, which is the EdTech program, as well as the Essential Digital Skills program. And we've identified the modules which would be most useful to teachers and trainers to do in order to get the skills and understanding of how to best deliver remotely.
Yeah, exactly. Now, one thing that we do always like to ask our guests on this show, because it really shows kind of where the people in the education industry, where they've come from and what they were like as when they were students. So, Vikki, what kind of student were you? And did you ever have a tutor yourself?
Well, I can respond very quickly at the second question, which is that I've never had a tutor, personal tutor, I take it, yeah.
Yes.
So no, I've never benefited from it. As you can hear from my accent, I'm French. So I was a very, I would say, assiduous student, especially in my primary and secondary, beginning of secondary school. So I grew up in a tiny, tiny village in the center of France. And I moved, there was no secondary school in the village. So I started boarding school for my secondary. And then my parents moved to Paris. So up to that stage, I was very assiduous, I would say, and I took a lot of pride and enjoyed the kudos associated with a rewarding sort of learning experience.
Yeah.
When I moved to Paris, I became perhaps more disengaged. I suppose there was more distractions and so many other things to do, and therefore I went back into studying when I started university, and I've been, I suppose, learning ever since.
Yeah. Well, we are all constantly learning, so that's a brilliant point to end on there. But yes, I guess one's education does shape what they do in the future, but it's not, it doesn't define it. So that's, really interesting to see that kind of you went through those systems, went through those paths. Vikki, there's kind of two questions rolled into one here that I'd like to pose to you next, which is, how did you get into the educational side of technology, or even maybe should I say that the technological side of education? And secondly, what does EdTech really mean for those listeners who maybe aren't so sure of a definition?
Well, I've always been very inquisitive, very curious person. So I came across new technologies in 1990s, mainly because as an illustrator, there was a lot of potential with Adobe Photoshop, scanners, Illustrator, and therefore I bought my first Mac scanner and Adobe. We didn't have an Adobe suite at the time, so Illustrator and Photoshop, as well as Quark Express, in '93. And I had my color printer, A3 scanner. I was really pleased. And I also had my little tablet to be able to draw with. So that's when I sort of learned technology in a way to improve my work, especially in terms of drawing and drawing rough and designing and enlarging things. And because I was teaching at the time as an illustration and graphic design, I was moved into that curriculum in order to redesign the way the curriculum was delivered. So it was still delivered very much by hand and paper. And we literally changed that to have a Mac studio and to change the way we worked.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, exactly. So you really moved with the times. You modernized, and I guess the phrase EdTech really came off the back of that. So do you have a short definition, kind of explanation of what EdTech means, maybe today?
Yeah, well, I mean, EdTech is shortened from education technologies, and it's literally the technologies that a teacher or a trainer will use in order to enhance learning, teaching, and assessment. So it's about how do you use technologies to sort of optimize the learning experience.
Yes, and I guess that streamlining process is something that all foundations, all organizations are looking to make use of. Obviously, the face-to-face teaching and learning and educating is still such a powerful resource, but there's certainly huge benefits to, as you say, kind of benefiting from that educational, that technological aspect to it, and really being able to bring that to life. Now, what I wanted to ask after this, Vikki, was, so you mentioned that obviously you have a long history of EdTech and digital skills expertise, and in your current role, you are head of EdTech and digital skills at ETF. So I wanted to ask what EdTech and digital skills training ETF are currently offering.
Oh, okay. Currently, GTF is offering to the sector two main programs, and both of those programs are hosted on the Enhanced Digital Teaching Platform. Mm-hmm. Now, the platform was repositioned in February to welcome the new Essential Digital Skills program. So this program is aimed at teachers and trainers who will be delivering the Essential Digital Skills entitlement from September 2020 to adults with no or low digital skills. It consists of 20 modules across 5 main categories, and it is mapped on the national standards. So it's the Essential Digital Skills National Standards.
Yeah.
So as I said, it consists of 20 modules. There are 2 synoptic modules which are really looking at how to teach with mobile technologies and online. And the others are really looking at the skills that you need in order to deliver this. And as we know, teachers have been delivering ICT functional skills since 2006.
Yeah.
And really the new standards are in a way catching up with the way we live and work. And therefore, the program was very much designed, informed by research we conducted over 4 months in November 2018 to about February 2019 across 78 organizations. And teachers who were delivering GICT skills told us what they felt their skills gap would be. And based on this, we drew a program which is non-linear. So there is a self-assessment tool at the beginning where you can sort of say, well, this is where my skills gap is, and it will point you to the relevant modules that you can take in order to narrow that skills gap. So it's very much responding to a more personalized way of learning and to spiky sort of skills profile of educators. The program is very generic, and in order to address, as we know, teaching is a practice, and therefore it adapts depending on the learning context and pathways. And therefore, we are trying to encourage communities of practice of educators to come together to discuss how to approach essential digital skills within a specific learning context, such as SAND or Prep for Life and Work, offender learning, ESOL, and so that those teachers can get together and discuss those additional challenges that they may experience and how best to address them.
Yeah, I love that idea, Vikki, of identifying someone who feels that they would like training and letting them choose themselves where their skills gap is. I think that's something that actually harks hugely back to one-on-one tutoring and how a student can have their school classes and then outside of those classrooms can use a tutor to pick up on those little gaps in knowledge or even those large gaps in knowledge where they can work one-on-one with the tutor and fill those gaps. Really, that's really one of the huge benefits of tutoring. So that's amazing that you've picked up on that, and that's something that ETF offer in their training. Now, just turning towards kind of the school curriculum, which is obviously something that as educators we have we have to bear in mind when educating children is that they have a school curriculum that they are following, and we are there to either provide that firsthand or to use that in our own sessions, to base this child's learning off that. So how do you think organizations such as ETF and Qualified Tutor can use their e-learning skills to enhance the school curriculum? How can we use e-learning to bring that to life?
In order to bring it to life, I think in the current situation, we've really identified that teachers and trainers have been using new technologies in order to engage and to stay in touch with learners, and making sure that they are going to keep on learning and not be left behind. So how can technology support? Well, I suppose, first of all, it's important to redefine our pedagogic approaches. So you can't deliver online like you would deliver face-to-face. It's important to probably put a lot more emphasis on what we would call asynchronous activities. So having a sort of face-to-face gathering of the group is important, and then giving clear instructions with progressive sequencing of activities with a clear learning aim will help learners to get on with the work. So I think it's very important for teachers, if they're using e-learning skills, is to avoid cognitive overload, really. So that instructions need to be really, really simple, and then build effective scaffold of activities. So the beauty of new technologies is that you're going to have loads of opportunities for spaced learning, for instance, where you're going to be able to revisit an activity and do some learning little formative assessment activities, which are automated to reinforce that learning and to be quite rewarding as well. Using gamification is a good way to encourage that sort of intrinsic motivation of the learner. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're doing in a way with the enhanced digital teaching platform, where we've got a strong gamification structure, which is built under the program itself. I would say also that if you're using new technologies to enhance the curriculum, then obviously you're going to be able to link to expertise outside of the classroom. So you're no longer sort of limited to face-to-face, and you're going to be able to reach out. So for instance, we had in early years learners who were using Twitter quite effectively by following key personalities within the early education industry in order to keep up to date and to have that sort of debate and engagement with those key figures within the industry. So that gives you access to knowledge, expertise, and practice which are outside of the classroom.
Yeah.
So I would definitely encourage collaboration and also times where learners can come together and as a group to collaborate on projects together. And of course, it's important to have constructive feedback and regular tutorial, which are more important than ever if we keep in this lockdown situation with remote learning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
And some. You went well beyond. You probably covered the next 10 questions I had, Vikki. That was amazing. There's a question in my mind here that I can't finish this. I don't want to leave this conversation without asking you, which is, as someone who's been involved in online and educational digital learning, I got to ask you, what are the core skills for an online educator or for an educator using digital technology? How does that differ from more traditional types of learning delivery?
I would say you still need the pedagogy. You still need the subject expertise. Okay? So that's in order to be an educator, you can't do without it. Obviously, you'll need the essential digital skills to create and deliver content online. So you need that sort of ease of access. And I think we've demonstrated that we've all got it because most teachers have a mobile device, and so the lockdown and the COVID-19 pandemic has really sort of made us aware that it's not that difficult, actually. It's really practical to be able to work remotely and to be able to still have those meetings with our learners, etc. One thing which is really, really important is accessibility, because depending on the mobile device that you're going to be using, depending on your personalized attributes, you're going to have barriers which may not be visible to the teacher. So I think a strong awareness on accessibility is important, especially with the forthcoming accessibility regulations as well for education institutions to really make sure that nobody is left behind. Now, beside those, I would say that it's really important for teachers to understand how best to encourage learners' independent study skills, because obviously you can't you need to move away from a 19th century didactical teacher-centered mode of delivery, and you really want to become a facilitator and a coach, most importantly a coach, to really encourage learners to take ownership of their learning. So you become the person who's going to question and ask them to problem solve and work in little groups to build those collaborative and problem solving skills, as well as critical analysis skills. So that's important. Communication is very different when you're working online. You need to be clear and you need to be very simple instructions. You want to avoid, I mentioned earlier on, that sort of cognitive overload. But even in instructions, it needs to be precise, simple. This is what you do. And obviously you need to give very constructive feedback and find peer feedback mechanism as well. So encouraging that sort of positive and challenging understanding of what we do. So it's important for learners to also learn this so that they can say, yes, I really enjoy A and B, and I thought you did that very well. However, perhaps you could develop further C and D. Yeah. And that's so important as a learner to understand this, because then they can apply it to themselves. They can also apply it to their peers' work. And finally, I would say probably planning skills to really set up a number of a wide range of opportunities to encourage learners' collaboration.
Yeah, those are all brilliantly specific and informative pieces of advice there, and actually exactly the kind of skills, professional skills, that both our listeners and our course participants are learning at the moment and are seeking to learn in their training. So I think what you've touched on there is incredibly appropriate for the kind of industry specialism that we find ourselves in, and that ETF are the leading authority of. So thank you very much for sharing that, Vikki. Now, I wanted to end on speaking more about your experiences, Vikki, rather than discussing so brilliantly the area that you work in and the area that we are both based in. What do you think it is that you enjoy most about what you do, Vikki? Lots of guests of ours who are teachers or tutors themselves say that it is that brilliantly rewarding moment when a student, the light bulb just goes ding in their mind, and the educator realizes that the student has understood the issue and is able to then progress and learn the following steps. But what is it, Vikki, that you enjoy most about what you do?
Well, in my case, I'm not directly a teacher anymore, although I still have the heart of a teacher. I'm definitely a people's person. For me, it would be the support for GFE sector. So as I said, I started working in this sector in 1987, and I very much believe in its remit, and I think it's adding terrific value to the society. So working for this sector is very important, and continuing to support and liaise with my FE colleagues and really understand what their needs are and finding ways to effectively support them. That's really important for me. So what I enjoy the most working for GTF, I would say, would be the creativity and the strategy input that it allows me to give. Having a national role means my sphere of influence is wider, and I have the opportunity to make a real difference. And so I really want to create something which is free, which is coherent and cohesive in order to support the further education sector.
Wow, that could be the end of a sort of an address to the nation, Vikki. That was brilliant. That was rousing almost. I feel now that I can go on and complete anything that I attempt. That was absolutely brilliant. Well, thank you, Vikki, so much. We're just aware of the time of as you say, people. People's time is short, and so we're aware of keeping these episodes nice and concise. So that was, we've packed so much into that. I say we, I mean you, of course, Vikki. You've packed so much into that, and actually, all of those skills, every single one that you were discussing just there before in the previous question, are so useful to the course that we're currently running, and actually really resonate with myself, and I'm sure will do with the founder of QT, Julia Silva. So for anyone listening who is currently taking the course, or for anyone listening who would like to level up their skills as a tutor, that is exactly the kind of content that we have already written, and it's brilliant that Vikki is there kind of reiterating that. If you would like to sign up for the course, if you would like to stand out, set yourself apart in the crowded space that is tutoring right now, if you'd like to show your students that you are ready to take the extra steps, then please do consider the Qualified Tutor course. You can find it at www.qualifiedtutor.org/enroll, and we will see you inside. We have courses starting every couple of weeks, and the next course will be beginning in 2 weeks' time from now. So that will be in the second week of June. But I'd like to take this opportunity, Vikki, to thank you very, very much for that. That's been an entirely comprehensive look at EdTech and digital learning. And to be honest, I don't think we've ever had such an in-depth and expert exploration of it as that. So thank you very, very much for that. I've enjoyed discussing what you do. It's always very nice to be given the space to talk about all the brilliant work you've been doing. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. And thank you for inviting me and to give a voice to GTF as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem. It's brilliant to hear these agencies on here. Thank you all very much for listening, and we will see you for the next episode next time. But one last time, Vikki, thank you very much. And I'm sure we'll be keeping in very, very close contact. So thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Qualified Tutor podcast, where tutors share their expertise to support the tutoring community. We're always looking for motivated tutors to interview on the show. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, get in touch at podcast@qualifiedtutor.org. We'd love to learn from you.